and welcome to another episode of Scott Reads Comics. We're nearing the end of the year 2022, and it's New Dimension Comics 50-cent sale. That's right, every book in their dollar boxes is no longer $1. For the remainder of the year, it's 50 cents. So I'll be making several visits there between now and the end of the week, New Year's Eve, Saturday night. And today's trip yielded some interesting findings, some interesting loot, so to speak. And I'll be talking about a specific issue, and here's a quick look at some of the stuff I got in my haul. Some good stuff indeed. But today's issue is Solo Avengers number 11, published in 1988 by Marvel Comics. This is a fun little two-parter which features a Hawkeye story and a Hercules story. Two of my favorite Avengers. So let's get started. The tagline on the cover, Hawk has his hands full while Herc gets tanked. Great cover by Bob Layton and Jackson Geis, who do the art chores on the second story, the Hercules story. Our first story, Hawkeye, the Menace of the Mind Melder. Stan Lee proudly presents Tom DeFalco, the Shakespeare of scripting, Mark Bright, the Picasso of pencils, Jose Marzan, the Einstein of inking, Jack Morelli, the Leonardo of lettering, Janet Jackson, the Chagall of coloring, Mark Grunwald, the Attila of editing. I love Mark Bright. I've talked about him on this show before. I think when he did an issue of Solo Avengers that I did earlier. Check it out in my channel if you haven't seen it. But yeah, Mark Bright with Jose Marzan inks on this one is pretty cool. Look out, it's Hawkeye. Costumed acrobats. They must be the ones responsible for the recent rash of jewelry store robberies. I've got to stop them, but they move so quickly. So these guys are pretty neat design, kind of a cool, I don't know if they ever show up again, but they're called the main guy is Bobcat, and his helpers are his claws. So Bobcat and his claws. Kind of interesting, dynamic supervillain acrobats here. So Hawkeye is pursuing them through Los Angeles traffic. This nifty keen smoke arrow will prevent it from suddenly starting up again. I don't want any of you accidentally run over by an irate motorist. Los Angeles drivers are known worldwide for their courtesy, but even they have their limits. Split up. Head for the rendezvous point B. We're already on our way, Bobcat. Meanwhile, watching in a limo, this very wealthy individual who's soon become the central player in our story. There seems to be a bit of a delay up ahead, Mr. Cranpuff. I hate being in such traffic, Winston. It's such an utter waste of time. Can't you take another route? I'm afraid not, sir. We're already thickly trapped in gridlock. In that case, I better handle this myself. There's someone who can help us. It looks like a strange energy aura is playing around this policeman as Cranpuff focuses on him. Hey, you in the fancy limo. The streets are jammed, so use the sidewalks. Move it. We've got to get this traffic cleared. Yes, sir. Now that we're moving again, I can return to my own body. So this is a case where we have, and surely in the Marvel Universe, this happens a lot. We have kind of a low-key mutant. He's not like a raging evil mutant who wants to destroy the world. He's just a guy who has become incredibly wealthy by the subtle use of his mutant power, which is the ability to possess other individuals and control their actions. And then when he leaves their bodies, they have no memory of what happened. I must have blacked out or something. I remember racing up the street to help Hawkeye, and then nothing. And here we get a little more on Mr. Cranpuff. He thinks to himself, that poor policeman. It must be very disconcerting to be on the receiving end of a mind meld. Oh well, that is one experience I will never have. Ever since I was a teenager, I have been the one who pulled the strings. So here he thinks back to his past where he was able to get his parents to give him extra perks, and he committed some petty larceny, but then he wises up a little bit. Eventually, I gave up on penny ante crime and turned my attentions toward the world of high finance. I became the ultimate inside trader, spying on the competitors, influencing large corporations, and secretly manipulating the stock market. Now, I know comic fans have often speculated, why don't these guys and gals just use their powers to make themselves rich? Why all the flamboyant criminal activity when they could just do it behind the scenes, on the down low, on the sly? But this Cranpuff is actually an example of someone doing that. But what good does that do me now? I may be one of the richest men in the world, but I'm almost 90 years old, and my doctors tell me that I will not live much longer. As much as I hate the thought of abandoning my own body and allowing it to die, I must find a host body before it's too late. My desk is already littered with dossiers of likely candidates, movie stars, politicians, captains of industry. If I'm going to assume another man's identity, I must make absolutely certain that he has a life which is exciting, challenging, full of fun and adventure. As he looks out the window of his skyscraper, he sees Hawkeye streaking by on his sky cycle. And great shot here by our team of Doc Bright and Marzon of Cranpuff's face as a wry smile comes over as the plant is about to enter into it. Meanwhile, on a nearby roof, Hawkeye has cornered Bobcat and his claws. Sheesh, I wish you guys hadn't moved this fight to the rooftops. My panting public can't see all the action up here. It's no use, we can't escape him. Turn and fight, he can't beat us all. My sleep gas arrow will argue with that point, pal. Hawkeye is good with the banter. And here he blasts one guy with the sleep arrow. Nice shot, Bowman, but your fancy arrows won't save you now. We're gonna play slice and dice. Get real, Garfield. Do you really think I'm just gonna sit still and let you sink your claws into me? When I can do this, great shot of him here turning his sky cycle upside down to avoid the attack of one of the claws. Yow, I didn't realize your sky cycle could do maneuvers like this. There's a lot more this baby can do in the right hands. Flipping to an upright position, Hawkeye sends his foe crashing into a nearby rooftop, and then, don't worry, kiddies, I haven't forgotten you. And if you think that last stunt was awesome, I'm even better up close and personal. My sky cycle is on automatic pilot. It'll keep circling this roof until I return to it. Get him close. Get him. Close in on him so he can't shoot any more arrow. Oh, Hawkeye delivers a kick there. And he has a shocker arrow. This stun arrow works just as well when it's swung. You boys have great taste in leaders. Great shot there in this open panel. No background, but it's just excellent figure work, showcasing the excellent figure work here by Bright. Looks like yours is cutting out with the cash. So Bobcat's trying to leave. It's never really discussed in the story, but these guys seem to me like they've got to have superpowers, just the way they leap around. At least maybe super acrobatics. Very cool. I like the visual imagery of them. And here, this guy has a cool, stylized Bobcat bola. Barely ducked in time, Hawkeye thinks. I congratulate you, Avenger. Not many men could have avoided that bolo. Save the compliments until after I've bagged you. The news will want a few juicy quotes for the morning editions. And just as Hawkeye is about to put the kibosh on them, we see that Cranpuff energy effect of his mind meld come over Hawkeye, and suddenly it's Cranpuff in Hawkeye's body. Uh-oh, something tells me I chose the wrong moment to switch bodies. No problem. I will just allow Hawkeye's natural instincts to handle this situation. After all, considering the average criminal element, crime fighting can't be all that difficult, can it? Surrender, villains, or face the wrath of Hawkeye, the world's greatest art. Whoops, patang. So while he is now inhabiting Hawkeye's body, he does not have Hawkeye's skill or panache. And it quickly becomes apparent here in this great long panel. The uncertain figure of Hawkeye is surrounded by Bobcat and his 5 claws. Great shot of all 5 of Hawkeye's adversaries together in one panel, and a great use of the long panel here. Really good storytelling by Bright. And certainly with the script, DeFalco knows. He's such a pro. He knows how to write a script for an artist. They're wondering, how do you ever survive in the superhero biz? One thing's for sure, after today, his crime-busting days are over. And Cranpuff, in the body of Hawkeye, thinks, can't take much more of this pain. Gotta concentrate. Must leave this body before it expires, or I'll die with it. So here, Cranpuff leaves Hawkeye's body, and Hawkeye is back in charge. You do a mean imitation of Phil Collins, my friend, but next time, beat a drum and leave my stomach alone. And here he makes short work of these guys. This is a great panel here where he, in this panel preceding it, he shoots an array of arrows. And you can see in this panel, each arrow striking home with sort of a different effect. Pretty awesome. And afterward, whew, what the heck happened to me back there? Did I black out or have some kind of seizure? Or did I experience something much worse? What was it? And how do I prevent it from ever happening again? And meanwhile, you see a shadowy figure slumped over across the skyway here. Barely 50 yards away, a peaceful smile lights the face of Winston J. Cranpuff, who had the unfortunate luck to return to his own body at the exact moment of its death. For a brief time, he was Hawkeye. He was Hawkeye, an Avenger, a hero. There are much worse ways to spend one's final moments. The end. This little story, a really fun little story, feels almost like an episode of Twilight Zone in a way. Just very cool, cool melding of, almost a melding of genres there. Very neat. And by this time, Solo Avengers was smartly putting its letter page in the middle of the book to separate the two stories, which is cool. This was a Mark Grunwald edited book, so he often had his say in the Mark's Remarks column. And here they're just debating the benefits of editing in the comics code. Nothing really worth getting into. So let's just dive into our second story. Stan Lee presents Hercules, Prince of Power, a farewell with arms. Olympus, extra-dimensional home of the Greek gods. Ho, Dionysus, the scion of Zeus, would speak with thee. Flee, Hercules, lest thou die with the rest of diseased Olympus. So here we see Dionysus sitting on what looks like a nuclear missile. And before we go any further, let's quickly go over our creative team for this one. Writer, breakdown artist is Bob Layton. Finished art is Jackson Geis. Letterer is John Workman. Colorist is Paul Beckton. Bob Layton is probably the writer-artist most closely associated with Marvel's version of Hercules. He did 2 excellent limited series, plus a graphic novel, plus I'm not sure how many short stories like this. I really think Hercules could benefit with some kind of epic collection. If there's enough material to fill it, it would be great. It would be a great showcase of the excellent Bob Layton's talents here. All right, so let's move on. Hast thou taken leave of thy senses? Thou art perched upon mortal-made thermonuclear missile. Thou must stop this folly, for... Come no closer, Prince. I have been told that all that is needed is one swift blow to its head, and for us, reality ends. Perhaps it's that my head has yet to fully heal, but I do not understand. So this is shortly after Hercules was badly beaten during the siege of Avengers Mansion in Avengers 274. So here, Dionysus goes on to relate that he is basically depressed at the loss of his power, or the waning of his powers. He still has his powers, but he feels they're waning. He was in the Siege on Olympus storyline in Avengers. He was actually physically beaten up by She-Hulk, which actually was kind of a cool fight, a great Buscema Palmer joint on that issue. And so he decides, rather than continue to waste away slowly, he's gonna go out with a bang and take all of Olympus with him. Hercules, though, is trying to reason with him. Dionysus, I implore thee to reconsider. 'Tis bad enough to take thine own life, but have compassion for Olympus. The ensuing blast that ends thy existence will destroy all the beauty and culture that is our heritage. 'Tis unthinkable. To Hades with thee all. On earth, mortal, healers would say that thou art suffering in the throes of mental depression. Thou art merely having a bad century. Let us retire to some peaceful oasis for a time and reflect on what troubles thee. Mayhaps we can find some solution. 'Tis too late for that, my friend. I already violated Zeus's edict against contact with the mortal world. Why did he make such a decree? 'Tis so cruel to deny us the pleasure of mortal revelry. Great shot here, panel here, showing the side profile of Dionysus, the sort of aging, dissipated Dionysus. Very cool. And this one with him in tears here is really good too. The latent layouts and the Jackson Geist finishes are really strong on this story. Very nice. Hercules finally says, "Thou hast left me with no other recourse save to, I know, take thee by force. I anticipated such a response. Behold, allow me to introduce my new servant, Sergeant Butcher T. Washington. Is he the target, Cleanhead?" So this giant Dionysus uses his incredible eldritch powers and summons forth this huge sci-fi tank with this what appears to be super strong military dude atop it. "Verily, yon timer is set to explode within the next 20 minutes. Thou shalt escape, and rewards are plenty if thou dost serve me well." "I'm your man, brother Dion. Now, as for you, run along, or I'll snuff your butt. Thou hast brought a mortal to Olympus. Thou must be truly unbalanced. Thou may kill him now." Great panel here showing a more sinister and resolved Dionysus. Very cool. Look at that sneer. Kerchoom! The tank fires. You got it. But Hercules in the next panel here makes short work of it. "'Twill take more than these mortal toys to vanquish the Lion of Olympus." Scree crunch. He basically takes the barrel and twists it. But it's not the tank's only weapon. If that's the case, here's something that might take him. If that's the case, here's something you might take a little more seriously. And he hits him with a flamethrower. Whoosh. Too easy. He'll be ashes in seconds, and all the loot Fat Boy promised is mine. Good shot of our villain here. We get to finally see a little close-up on him. "Methinks thy celebration is a bit premature, but for thy effort I applaud. The vacuum that ensues from his thunderous clap extinguishes the inferno. Then..." So now he tries to shoot Hercules with missiles, and with his incredible reflexes, Hercules grabs one out of the air and hurls it back, destroying the tank. "My tank! You killed my tank, you dirty son of a..." "I have no more time to waste on the likes of thee, impudent mortal, especially when the fate of beloved Olympus hangs in the balance." And he takes his gun away and slams him to the ground. "The Fat Boy told me about your little medical problem, and I got just the thing to ensure you go down. A little high-voltage taser to your swollen gray matter." In his already weakened state, Hercules succumbs to the blast. Zrak! And now, for the finale, an adamantium garret for you to wear for the last moments of your life. So this guy has to be super strong to at least be able to struggle with Hercules like this. This adamantium is so strong, it's guaranteed to remove anyone's head, even a god's. So it appears that Hercules is about to be killed, and Dionysus has second thoughts. No, begone, mortal, and take thy destructive toy with thee. What? I knew I shouldn't have trusted a... He's obviously uttering some dire imprecations here as he is teleported away. Moments later, when all traces of the conflict have vanished. "Dionysus, methinks thou..." "Say nothing, Hercules. Despondent though I be, I could not allow thee to perish on my behalf. Perhaps I simply needed to know that someone cared. But old friend, what has become of Butcher T and the bomb?" I gave him access to all the wealth of his greedy heart dares desire." So it looks like he is at Fort Knox with the bomb. "That lying little fat boy." So he's going to be arrested probably. Meanwhile, sometime later, as Dionysus stands before the king of the gods, Zeus, in judgment, I throw myself at thy mercy, my liege. Thou hast dared to defy my will by making mortal contact. But thy blackest transgression is thy disregard for thine own immortal soul. For that you must be punished. Dionysus, god of wine and mirth, thou art to be stripped of all that thou possess. Powers and memory shall be denied thee, and thou shalt be banished to a place of penitence until such time as I deem thy sentence served. So be it. Great panel sequence here of Dionysus standing and then fading as Zeus teleports him away to an as yet undisclosed location. A short time later, in the private chamber of Zeus. Thy plan worked perfectly, Father. A great tragedy was averted this day. Thanks in no small way to thee, my son. Hadst not Dionysus believed you were in danger, this tale might have had a less pleasant resolution. I counted on his affection for thee to undo the situation. Thy wisdom was great indeed, but what of Dionysus now? I sent him to a place where he may learn to appreciate life once again. And Zeus gestures toward his scrying bowl, and we see, and as thou canst see in the reflection waters, the place of his banishment is quite appropriate. Is that sign new? Someone says, and we see Dion's bar under new management. For the former god of wine. Hey Dion, how's about another brewski? It'll be my pleasure. So we have a great shot here of Dionysus looking a lot like Ernest Borgnine in this last panel, in a place where he can truly be happy, surrounded by bar patrons who appreciate him. So very cool little story. Also kind of had a little bit of a Twilight Zone vibe to it, just the wrap up anyway. So yeah, very cool issue of Solo Avengers, number 11, published by Marvel in 1988. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe and tell your friends. And I will bring you more soon on Scott Reads Comics. Thanks for watching.